We've all been there planning an exciting trip to a new destination only to arrive and find yourself surrounded by overpriced attractions, overcrowded landmarks, and underwhelming experiences. Tourist traps are an unfortunate reality of modern travel, but that doesn't mean you have to fall for them. In today's video, we'll take you through some practical tips and tricks on how to avoid common tourist traps so you can make the most of your travel experience and find authentic gems along the way. Stick with us until the end because we've got some insider tips that will change the way you travel forever. Let's get started. Number 1, do your research, but be selective. It's tempting to rely on the same guidebooks or travel websites that everyone else uses, but that's often where the trouble starts. Tourist-heavy sites like TripAdvisor or Lonely Planet, while helpful, are often filled with the same recommendations that lead millions of tourists to the same places. Instead of sticking to the top 10 lists, dig deeper into travel forums, social media groups, or niche blogs. Reddit's travel communities, for example, are filled with real travelers who share honest insights about lesser-known destinations and highlight hidden gems off the beaten path. But be selective in your research. Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's a trap. Look at reviews critically, paying attention to the opinions of people whose travel styles align with yours. Do they prioritize authentic experiences over sightseeing? Do they avoid crowded spots? That's your clue to avoiding a trap. Tip: search for articles or posts about underrated or overlooked attractions in the destination you're visiting. Websites like Atlas Obscura specialize in highlighting unusual or hidden places that tourists might miss. Number 2, avoid peak times to escape the crowds. One of the easiest ways to turn an otherwise magical experience into a nightmare is to visit during peak hours. Even the most amazing landmarks can lose their charm when surrounded by swarms of tourists. The trick here is to visit early in the morning or late in the afternoon, when the majority of tourists are either still getting started or wrapping up their day. For example, visiting the Eiffel Tower in Paris around noon might mean long lines and overcrowded platforms. But if you go early in the morning, not only do you get shorter wait times, but the view of the city bathed in morning light is unbeatable. The same goes for popular national parks, museums, and monuments. By avoiding peak hours, you'll experience these sites in a more relaxed and serene setting. Tip: if you're planning to visit a famous landmark, try booking tickets for the first or last time slot of the day. Many places offer online reservations, which can save you from waiting in long lines. Number 3, steer clear of restaurants near major attractions. If there's one surefire way to fall into a tourist trap, it's by eating at restaurants within walking distance of a major landmark. These places often offer inflated prices and mediocre food because they rely on high foot traffic and one-time visitors who won't be back. The meals are often geared toward tourists rather than reflecting authentic local cuisine. To avoid this, follow the locals. Walk a few blocks away from the main tourist areas and look for restaurants filled with locals rather than tourists. You can also ask your hotel staff, Airbnb host, or even locals on the street for restaurant recommendations. Locals are often more than happy to point you toward hidden spots that tourists would normally miss. Tip: use food review apps like Yelp or Google Maps to check restaurant reviews from locals, or try apps like Eat With to find locals who host meals in their homes for an authentic culinary experience. Number 4, skip the souvenir shops. We've all walked by them, the rows of shops selling cheap souvenirs, t-shirts, magnets, and trinkets emblazoned with the city's name. While it may be tempting to buy a memento from your trip, these souvenir shops often sell low-quality, mass-produced items that you can find anywhere in the world. Worse, they tend to overcharge tourists for these generic items. Instead, seek out local markets or craft fairs where artisans sell authentic, handmade products. Whether it's traditional textiles, local spices, or handcrafted jewelry, these markets often offer unique souvenirs that have cultural significance and are made by local craftsmen. Not only will you bring home something special, but you'll also be supporting the local economy. Tip: If you're looking for something unique, consider purchasing artwork from local artists or visiting a farmer's market to pick up local food items that you can't find elsewhere. Number 5. Master public transportation. When you land in a new city, it's easy to default to taxis or tourist buses to get around, but that often leads to overpaying and missing out on the chance to experience the city like a local. Instead, familiarize yourself with the public transportation system. Most cities around the world have reliable and affordable buses, trains, or subways that connect you to key attractions without the high costs of taxis or private transportation. In cities like Tokyo, London, or New York, public transportation is an integral part of daily life, and using it can give you a better sense of the city's rhythm and culture. Plus, riding the metro or bus allows you to see more of the city and encounter parts you might not otherwise visit. Tip: download local transit apps like City Mapper or Google Maps to easily navigate public transportation routes. Number 6. Beware of free tours and activities. Everyone loves a freebie, right? But when it comes to free tours, be cautious. Many of these tours, especially in major cities, aren't truly free. While there may not be an upfront cost, tour guides often expect a generous tip at the end. In some cases, free tours lead you to shops and restaurants where the guide receives a commission from your purchases. Instead of falling into this trap, look for small independent tour companies or local guides who offer paid tours with no hidden costs. Tip: if you do opt for a free tour, make sure to research the company beforehand to ensure it's reputable, and be prepared to tip appropriately. Number 7. Look beyond the iconic Instagram spots. We all want that perfect Instagram shot, but those famous spots you see on social media can often lead you straight into a tourist trap. Whether it's the colorful streets of Santorini, Greece, or the swinging rope bridges of Bali, some places have become victims of their own popularity. Once serene and beautiful, these locations now draw massive crowds, often resulting in long waits just to take a single photo. The key here is to look for alternatives. Many places have equally stunning, lesser-known spots nearby that aren't overrun with tourists. You can still get amazing photos without the hassle of waiting in line or battling crowds. Plus, your photos will likely stand out more since they showcase unique, hidden locations. Tip: try searching for photo spots on photography forums or blogs instead of social media. Photographers often share off-the-beaten-path locations that are just as scenic but less crowded. Do you have any other tips for avoiding tourist traps? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more travel tips and advice. Safe travels!